Conover to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. However, afterwards, I would ask that we remain standing for a moment of silence for our good friend, dear friend, Ed Bartholomew.
Of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone.
Next, we have the roll call, please.
Mr. Conover?
Here.
Mr. Leggett?
Here.
Mr. Diamond?
Here.
Mr. McDevitt?
Here.
Ms. Bramer? Mr. Bruno?
Here.
Mr. Driscoll?
Here.
Mrs. Frazier? Here. Mr. Simpson?
Here.
Ms. Hogan? Ms. Hogan?
You're asking if you're here.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, here. I'm here.
Here.
Mr. Dickinson?
Here.
Mr. Merlino? Mr. Stroud? Mr. Wild?
Present in the boardroom.
Mr. McGowan?
Here.
Ms. Seaver? Here. Mr. Beatty?
Here.
Ms. Shepler? Here. Mr. Garrity?
Here.
Chairman Thomas?
Here.
I didn't see it.
Quorum is established.
Next, I'd like to extend the privilege of the floor to Jacob Miller, who is here on behalf of Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. Mr. Miller, welcome. Is he here? Let's see. Good. Well,
Mr. Chairman, Jacob normally dials into our Economic Recovery Task Force calls. Sometimes there's a slight delay. I'm not sure if you see anyone that might be trying to dial in.
Here we go. 74309.
okay. Mr. Miller?
Yes, that's me.
Hi.
How you doing, sir?
Good. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're here on behalf of the Congresswoman?
That's correct. Yeah. So I'm only going to be listening in. Unfortunately, with Congress being on recess for the past 2 weeks, there haven't been too many updates regarding what's going on. But this week, she's back down in D.C. And this weekend, so today and tomorrow, they are planning on tackling the USPS issues in the House. And also, hopefully, they're going to try to knock out some other things that have been pending for the past few weeks in the early next week, too. So I'm really here to take notes and report back to the Congresswoman, to our staff, to make sure we're aware of what's going on in the district. But unfortunately, I don't have too much of an update for everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Miller? Yes, Supervisor Bramer.
Yep.
I won't grill you on any questions, just to put out there a note that it would be really great to have some federal assistance for state and local governments and our school districts. So that can be in the latest relief package. I think that the Congresswoman already supports that, and I'm just reiterating that's a really big need for the county.
Absolutely. I will absolutely let her know. She does support that. Has written multiple letters to leadership to include that on both packages. It's in the HEROES Act, which is what the Democrats in the House have put forward. And unfortunately, there's not much state and local aid in the HEALS Act, which is coming from the Senate. However, we are hoping that by the time we come to a consensus on one of the COVID-19 relief packages, there will be more money in there for directly for state and local aid. So yeah, she is in very much in favor of that, but I do appreciate you letting me know, and I'll let her know that just to reemphasize that.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Wild?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that all the board members know and the public knows that Congresswoman Stefanik's office has been engaged with us on our issues in terms of what we're trying to do in terms of rebuilding the economy and recover from the pandemic. And we definitely appreciate Jacob being engaged and involved in the support that they've both been able to give us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Jacob, and please send my thanks along to the Congresswoman.
Absolutely, my pleasure. We are working on that. Just to follow up with you from yesterday, we're working on getting that information regarding the new PPP stuff, as well as some of the legislation that has been proposed that would advance the payroll protection program. We are working on getting that all consolidated into an easy to disperse and easily palatable written out, note sheet. So I will follow up with you with that once that is completed, by the way.
Thanks, Jacob.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Beatty?
Thank you. Jacob, we've mentioned it before, but in fact, when I went down to DC a few months ago, but having the money sent directly to the counties and the state's fine, but when bills are formulated and the money is sent to the state, sadly, the state takes a huge cut off it, and we get a diluted amount of money, much less. So it's a priority, in my opinion, that funding is targeted to counties directly and not to the state to funnel it to the counties, because to be frank with you, I don't trust the state to do it correctly and to do it fairly. So I hope that message is loud and clear with Elise, and I know I've talked to her on it, and I think she's fully aware of that, but if you'd re-emphasize that, I appreciate it.
Yes, will do. She very much is in favor of that. She is, along with you guys, I'm sure. She does want that money going directly to counties and to local communities. She actually wrote a letter to Cuomo back in June stating that she would like money distributed directly to the counties whenever it comes to the state, just because, obviously, as we know, sometimes it gets stuck in the Capitol, and we don't know where that money goes. So we want to make sure that it's getting directly into our Board of Supervisors' hands and getting into our supervisors' hands in their local communities. So I will reemphasize that to her, and I appreciate you bringing that up.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, welcome to our meeting there, Mr. Miller, and thank you very much for the information.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Next up, I'm not sure if Senator Little's with us today or. Let's see, Mr. Stockley. Okay. Next item we have is a motion to approve the minutes from July 17th, 2024 meeting, subject to correction by the clerk.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Simpson. I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next I will declare the public hearing open on the tentative operating budget for the Adirondack Community College for fiscal year 2020 through 2021, and request that the clerk read the notice of the public hearing.
The following notice was published in the August 6th edition of the Post-Star and in the August 8th edition of the Sun. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Warren, New York is considering the adoption of a tentative operating budget for Adirondack Community College for fiscal year 2020 through 2021. Notice is further given that pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Board of Supervisors on July 17th, 2020, a public hearing will be held by the Board of Supervisors on August 21st, 2020 at 10 a.m. at which time and place all persons interested in the matter of such proposed budget will be heard concerning same. Note, due to COVID-19 pandemic, which has caused the closure of the Warren County Municipal Center building to the public, this hearing will be held via Zoom video conference. Those wishing to speak during the public meeting must contact the clerk of the board at allen@warrencountiny.ny.gov to receive an invitation to the meeting. Comments can also be submitted to Amanda Allen, clerk of the board, by email at allena@warrencountiny.ny.gov or in writing to 1340 State Route 9, Lake George, New York 12845, no later than August 20, 2020. A copy of the tentative operating budget for Adirondack Community College for fiscal year 2020 through 2021 is available for inspection during regular business hours by contacting the clerk of the Board of Supervisors at the above stated address and may be viewed on the Warren County website. For the record, I have received no written comments and no requests from the public to participate in this public hearing.
Okay, Mr. Lehman, do we have any comments from the public?
Not at this time, Chairman Thomas.
Okay, I'll leave the public hearing open and I'll do my report. And go from there. On 7/20 and 7/21, I attended the monthly committee meetings that were scheduled. The afternoon of 7/21, I attended Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board meeting by Zoom. They are about to receive, or are going to vote to receive. They're going to have a special meeting here the next week or so. CARES Act funding of approximately $3 million for a new loan fund. 7/23, I attended the inter-county meeting with several other supervisors in Greenwich, and we went to the Better Bee business, which I didn't know existed. It was a very interesting trip, very interesting business, about 40 employees. They make supplies for beekeepers, for people that have bees. And they also produce some honey. But it was unique, very interesting. On the 29th, I attended the Adirondack Park Local Government Review Board meeting with Supervisor Garrity in Long Lake. On the 30th, I attended the Personnel and Finance meeting. And I also got part of the Economic Recovery Task Force meeting. Let's see. Yesterday, I attended the Warren County Solid Waste Management Plan meeting. It was interesting. There's a lot of good ideas. Not sure when we get to those good ideas, but a lot of good ideas. Also attended the Special Economic Development and Finance meeting. And also wrote a letter to Governor Cuomo regarding fiber optics line fee charge to the providers.
Morning.
For lines that are within the New York State DOT right away as requested. And that concludes my report. Any other?
Change your address. Yes, is recommended. I can.
Don, any other chance there might be public comment on the SUNY Adirondack budget?
No, sir. No additional comment.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from members of the board? Okay, I'll declare the public hearing closed. And at this time, I would extend the privilege of the floor to Assemblyman Daniel G. Stuck. Hey, Dan.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I apologize for being from my back porch right now, but I have a contractor in my house and making a little bit of noise, so I needed to step outside. Thanks for the opportunity to come talk to you again briefly. Hope everyone's doing well. I think the big news, certainly for you all to be aware of, is there's been some cases in Essex County to the north, and Essex had been doing particularly well in the COVID numbers, but they do have a problem in Elizabethtown at one of the homes right now that's been in the papers. So it's still out there. It's still near and dear to our concerns, obviously, and I know that you guys have been working very hard to push to make sure that we're being cautious. I've had the opportunity to talk to several of you in the last week or two, and in particular yesterday I saw Mayor Blaze, and he talked about how busy and how strong a season actually Lake George is having from a tourism perspective. But again, people are concerned with social distancing and the mask wearing and whatnot, so it continues to be an issue. By way of an update from Albany and the state, since last we spoke, it's been a few weeks. We haven't been in session. We are basically in a holding pattern until the federal government resolves their negotiations and comes up with a final bill revolving around our financial problems in the state and the country. And hold on, I got a Zoom problem. Okay, and trying to get resolution from the federal government as to what we can expect for financial assistance from them. And then when we have that knowledge, then we're going to need to go react. But in the meantime, I know that a lot of people that receive state aid, in particular schools and municipalities, have been told that they can expect the 20% holdback on their funding, which is certainly a huge concern for anyone that's getting aid, especially the schools. And obviously that goes hand in hand with schools about ready to resume instruction and try to restart, and all the challenges that that's going to hold. And so we're waiting for that to come from Washington before we go back and take care of what we're going to need to react to in Albany. But each week it's been, well, next week, and it hasn't happened yet. So not a lot of new activity in Albany on that front, other than we're just waiting for Washington. And I should mention to the group, that there are a lot of local supervisors inside the park have been working on some constitutional amendments that they'd like to see happen. And I've been on top of that with DEC. I had a phone conversation with the commissioner's office yesterday about, these three constitutional amendments, none of which are in Warren County, but in the Adirondacks, in Franklin County and Hamilton County, and one in Essex County, and the timeline and the issues there. And so I want to commend the Local Government Review Board and AATV for their work on those amendments as well. So I just wanted to update the group that those are firmly on my radar, and we've been talking to our colleagues on both sides of the aisle and in both houses regarding that and the second floor. So I don't know what the likelihood is as to whether or not these are going to get done first passage this year or not. I think it's going to be very difficult, but not impossible, and we're going to do the best that we can. And if there are any questions, be happy to field any.
Any questions for Mr. Steck?
All right.
Nope, I don't see any, Dave.
All right. Well, you all have a good day. Again, I hope that everyone's healthy, and I appreciate the work that the county and all the municipalities in the county have been doing this summer to try to get us up on our feet again from an economic standpoint, and also at the same time making sure that we're keeping our numbers down and keeping our citizens healthy. So thanks all, and everybody have a good weekend.
You too, Dan.
Said it was a no
Thanks, everybody.
It's because I apparently Phil Stats put up posters. They're handmade. They're not real.
Next, we have reports by committee chairman, Supervisor Conover.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The DPW committee met on July 21st, represented in your packet by resolutions 284, 285, 286, 287, and 288. Resolution 284, we just received the bids for that work. We indicated at that time at committee that we would report back to the board. The unofficial apparent low bidder for this work is Newcastle, with an apparent low bid of $1,236,491.89. That's within our estimates for the work. Of course, they'll finish their canvas on this. There were three bidders on the work. The other two bidders were Louisi and Peckham. Resolution 286, I just would highlight that as a small but interesting cooperative arrangement between the county and New York State. And we should certainly thank them for their assistance with equipment. Resolution 287 is for the purchase of a grinding truck That will be paid for through a grant, $75,000 grant, and the balance coming from contributing and participating municipalities. On the 20th, I attended the budget meeting on DPW. I think things went well. It was a very thorough review. It took quite some time, as you might expect. And then yesterday, we had our solid waste public meeting, approximately 2 hours. I think it was an excellent meeting with a lot of very interesting input. And I think this is a process that we're going to be involved in for quite some time going forward. We're looking at quite a few comments, the need for updates and possible changes. And but I think our staff is engaged on this, and hopefully we can also remain engaged with the private sector and the people that are interested in this subject. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Liggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public safety. Number
Gotta speak up.
279. Can you hear me now? How's that? Doug, you good?
Yes, you gotta speak up, Craig.
We got it here. So, should I start over? Public safety met on July 20th. We have two resolutions before you. Number 278, number 279. One is just a resolution for service with Niemer Chrysler for the sheriff cars. And then the other, do I have those numbers right? Yes. Yeah, but yeah. 279 is Capital Digitronics. That basically this was money. It's basically fund balance transfer, just counting things rolled over and into this year. It wasn't spent last year, so it's housekeeping on that. Also, I attended IDA meetings. Big issue there was about commercial solar, mostly in Washington County, and extending pilots to them. The IDA had made a resolution several years ago not to do solar pilots, and we're sticking with that. Attended Soil Water Conservation District budget meeting, and they're holding pretty steady, and they will be presenting that to the county here next month. I also attended the economic recovery meeting. Supervisor Wild will probably give you more rundown on that. That was up in Johnsburg yesterday, hosted by Supervisor Hogan. And also note, take a look out and back, the Office of Emergency Services building's coming along well. They're putting some of the finishing touches on it. Toured it last week with Director LaFleur, and it's coming along fine. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No reports today.
Thank you. Supervisor McDevitt.
No report with one exception. I learned something last week in regards to our bike trail and in terms of how DPW provides I really think, a very excellent service. I had a call from an adjacent property owner, and there are some open areas on the bike trail that the county is responsible for. And this piece of property the property owner indicated to me was being staked and planned for something. And the good news is it was being staked. It was for a flower garden. So our DPW is involved in an area to beautify as well as pollinate our environment. 30% of the food supply in this country comes from bees. So, I got a biology 101 course in pollination which I needed. And, but the point is we are achieving a twofold goal in that we're beautifying our environment and we're pollinating our area to secure, our flowers, our bees, and our environment. So it was, Kevin sent me some photos of what they're doing on the trail. So it's good work being done by our Public Works Department. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you so much. Real property and environmental concerns met at the beginning of July for the last chance meeting. We do not have a regular committee meeting after that. So there's no further report on that. We will have a meeting coming up, I think, next week. And one of the items that I think will be of interest is a septic inspection at transfer law for the county. The other thing I wanted to report on is that I attended the resolutions committee for NISAC earlier this month, and just to have everyone keep on their radar that NISAC is doing their fall conference virtually. So we should be getting information soon about that if we haven't already in our email. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Bruno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I attended several meetings the past month. The only one I want to comment on is the one yesterday, the Public Works, the special meeting regarding the draft solid waste management plan. I wanted to commend Kevin Hagels for a good job on presenting that. And just wanted to say, I know that he receives a lot of comments, public comments, a lot of people. There are people out there that have many, many ideas. Some of the comments were not so nice in my book, but I think he did a good job. And this, with the complexity of this and the size of our solid waste stream, this is something that even after this management plan is approved, will continue to evolve over time. And I know Kevin and other people keep an open mind and take all the comments and consider them. And there's a lot to consider there. So I just wanted to commend Kevin and say that the meeting was very good. And again, a lot of comments. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Human Services Committee met on Monday, July 20th. There were no resolutions that came out of that meeting. A couple days prior to every board meeting, I do my best to try to send along an update that Commissioner Hanchett sends over to me so that individuals are informed about what's happening on the Human Services Committee. I'd also like to dovetail Supervisor Bruno's comments. I participated in the meeting yesterday. I made some comments myself. I had a chance to communicate with this Zero Waste Committee. I know some of their members. I thought that pretty much they offered some very valuable recommendations. I'm very pleased that Mr. Hagels and the county are interested in continuing communications with this group so that we can foster a relationship that's based on communication, cooperation, and hopefully someday in the near future, collaboration on solid waste related matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Frazier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I give my report, I would like to withdraw resolution number 297, where it was authorizing the rental rate for the Westbrook parking lot to provide an additional reduction. That's not going to take place, so I would like to withdraw that resolution.
We need a motion. Moved by Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Wild. I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
All right. The Finance Committee met on July the 30th. As a result of that, we have resolution 263 and 264, as well as resolutions 293 through 298, including 297. They're pretty self-explanatory. So I'm not gonna go over each one, but 294 deals with approving the Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board, 2021 budget. I would appreciate your support on that. And with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Swan. I think he has some information for us. So, Mr. Swan.
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to be back in one room again. I just want to bring everybody up to date kind of on some of our revenue shortfalls that everybody has been talking about, and just give you kind of a quick synopsis of where we are in the county. First of all, I'm sure that everybody's aware that the state has said that they're going to take 20% off the top of our state aid. If that happens, for everything that we get from the state, that amounts to about $3.7 million. Okay. And I've got a few listed other items here where we're kind of short on our revenues. One of them is the interest income that we get on our bank accounts. We're down about 60 grand there. I really don't think we're going to end up having the land auction this year because the state courts have still not allowed any filings to be done on that. So that's about $250,000. The tribal money, which is the casino money, we have not received anything since the third quarter of 2019. So that's about $420,000 we're down. The Compensating Care Act, which is the legal marijuana, we have not received any money from them. That's $120,000. Sales tax, I'm going to estimate right now, at this point, we're down about $1 million. Mortgage tax, we're behind about $309,000. County clerk's fees, we're behind budget about $133,000. Auto use tax, we're behind about $40,000. Airport restaurant, that's closed, that's $33,900. You total that all up, it's about $6 million right now that we're short in revenue. Okay, that's the bad side. The good side is with the money that we moved from the vacation accruals, which is 2.1 million, and with the money that is in the austerity budget that Administrator Moore has been working on, that's $3.5 million from him and 2.1 million from the vacation accruals. That means right now, roughly, we're in the hole about $500,000. Okay, which I think is phenomenal for where we've got, what we're coming through. So this, I think, it's like I've been saying all along, Warren County, I think we're in good shape. We're doing well. 2021, we'll see. I wouldn't want to be Kevin Garrity right now. But anyway, there's a couple other items I want to go over. Social services. This is a little bit different animal. We have not received any settlements from social services for the months of May and June. But basically a settlement is we submit a claim and they pay us back the money. For 2019, that was $2.7 million for those 2 months. The state notified us that the monthly settlements, and I'm going to read this right from their stuff, the monthly settlements are being held until they undergo an enhanced review process. And they would not provide a date as to when this process would be completed. We've received about $140,000 over the last 3 months from them. So right now, we got a cash flow hit of about 2.5 million, okay, that we've had to make up. Hopefully, those settlements will start coming in. That's a concern because anytime we're starting to put money out there that we haven't gotten, that concerns me. Lastly, short-term rentals. I'm sure that a lot of you are aware that we're putting on a full court press to get every short-term rental in the county registered by the end of this year. It's working pretty well. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. My emails are very long. We have, and my staff have been working very diligently with the people. And I think that we're going to have a pretty good response. Will we get everybody? No, but I think we're going to get the majority of them before the end of the year. Questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you. My question is on that social service money that the state is going to do a strict review to make sure which I'm sure is a stall tactic since the state is just new with money. They're not going to hit us 20% on that too, are they?
I don't believe so, but I can't I mean, that's not my feeling, but you never
Put it
know.
in your crystal ball.
So, oh, and the other thing is I forgot, are you done? Okay, I did forget one other thing that I want to say. Before the pandemic started, I don't know if everybody remembers, but the governor stated and had put through in the budget that he was going to take additional monies from the local sales tax to help fund New York City hospitals. That withdrawal will start in January of 2021. The hit to Warren County will be $355,000. And they're going to take that out over on a quarterly basis.
Supervisor Gary.
Yeah, Mike, on the oxy tax, are we starting collections in September, or are we gonna go back to 2018?
No, I'm not going to try to go back. We are working, I'm working with the county attorney on something regarding that. I guess I don't really know whether I should make a comment on that. Okay, Mr. Dickey is waving me on. So we're working on something regarding that, but because it may end up in a possible litigation situation, I'm being asked not to say anymore.
Supervisor Brown.
Just on that, thank you. I'm glad Supervisor Gary brought that up because I have a lot of people who are asking me about this. Why is this new? And I'm telling them it's not new. You should have been collecting. Can you just go over what exactly the criteria are for your short-term rental? What you have to do and why you have to register, like number of days.
Okay, this board changed the local law regarding this in 2018. From that point forward, short-term rentals, which is defined basically as any property that is rented for less than 30 days, must collect occupancy tax. So if you're renting a home, single-family residence, duplex, whatever, for less than 30 days, then you should be collecting occupancy tax. In order to register, the easiest way to do it is to go online through the Warren County website, click on departments, and click on treasurer's office, and all the information is there. And if you have any further questions, my phone number is out there all over the place, my email, and my staff. We are, as soon as we can get to the phone calls and emails, we're responding.
Anyone else? Yes, Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mike, I'm going to face the microphone.
That's right.
But I'm curious how we're doing with collections on occupancy tax. Because I know that in Lake George, the feedback we're hearing is properties on the lake are doing banner years. They're even doing better than last year. But off the water properties are suffering somewhat. So I'm just wondering, what's your sense in terms of collections and whether you can have any feedback in terms of where we might end up?
I can't really answer for what's going on this summer yet because we won't see any of those collections until September. Okay, because most of our main contributors are quarterly filers, so we won't see anything until September. My gut feeling is after I've talked to everybody and what I've seen, I think we're gonna, I don't know if we're gonna, well, we'll never get back what we lost in the spring, but I think we're gonna be doing pretty well.
Thank you, Mike.
Anyone else?
Good. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Edna? Are you done?
I'm sorry, yes, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Personnel Administration met on July 30th, and we do have several resolutions that came out of that meeting. One, though, that I would respectfully ask to withdraw, is resolution number 291 for new details that have come to light, and this will need to go back to committee. This is the lease agreement with 333 Glen Street Associates for use of office.
Okay. We have a motion to withdraw resolution 291, seconded by Supervisor Seaver. I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, carried.
Okay, thank you. I'll move back to the resolution. So resolution number 289 is a resolution adopting our travel policy to include authorization to attend online trainings. We have resolution 290, which is authorizing the payment of employees not working while paid administrative leave without requiring the use of earned leave time accruals. We have resolution 292, which is appointing a member to the counties of the Warren and Washington Industrial Development Agency and Civic Development Corporation. Mr. Grasso, who has communicated that he has effectively resigned from the committee. We also, I have an update. We commenced, we were in the process of acquiring candidates for the Office of Emergency Services with, the pending retirement of Brian McClure. And we picked that up, and we have 2 candidates that were from the prior, before the pandemic had hit, that hit right in the middle of this process. We subsequently went out to advertise again. We wanted a slate of more than just 2 candidates that we had prior to the COVID crisis. And at this point, we have 3 new candidates. They need to be, their qualifications need to be looked at through Tricia's office, civil service, to make sure they meet the minimum requirements. And that will happen hopefully early next week, moving through that process. The only other thing I wanted to bring up is, in this last legislative session, there was a bill that passed. It was the SALT reduction task force legislation. And, we're very hopeful that this will pass and the governor will sign this bill, pass the Assembly and the Senate. We've been working on it and advocating. We really think that we need a local highway superintendent, whether it's county, town. We need county and town highway superintendents as members of that task force. It's very important that, the successes that we've seen in Warren County, whether it's been invasives or the salt reduction that has happened and been very significant in Warren County, the success of that has been tied to local government being involved in, and really it's the collaboration and partnership and the ability to see buy-in from all the interested parties. We really are advocating for local representation. We really don't need any more laws that we have elected saying we need to do this. We need buy-in. It's a successful program. It's something we're going to continue to push for. But that may happen hopefully soon. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I give the cooperative extension report, I want to thank the members of the Economic Development Recovery Committee for coming up to Johnsburg this week and taking the time out of their busy lives to listen to the issues that are faced by some of the northern towns. We really appreciate all the effort that went into you guys being there and your willingness to listen. Cornell Cooperative Extension, with a great deal of creativity, conducted their annual youth fair earlier this month. It was all done virtually. 13 youth had the opportunity to display 47 projects, and a beautiful video was produced. I encourage you to go on their YouTube and check out this video that not only had the projects highlighted, but their talent show is there too, and it's absolutely adorable. The CCE golf tournament is tomorrow. I believe all the slots have been filled, but it is a big fundraiser for them. So if you feel like donating and not golfing, please feel free. You can do that. It's allowed. Otherwise, their staff has been very busy producing videos on everything from cooking and gardening. And they're continuing to grow produce in their greenhouses, and it's for sale on site at CCE. If you're ever up in Warrensburg and want to pick up some really beautiful produce, please do. Thank you. That's the end.
Thank you. Supervisor Dickinson.
Thank you, Chairman. I've received a lot of emails from a lot of people, including supervisors, about Octax. A lot of different questions. We are having a meeting on the 31st at 10 o'clock, and we're going to discuss Octax, how it works and where we are and where we hope to go. So for those of you that have questions, please attend. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Molino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick couple of notes about tourism with the Smith Travel Report. We all know March, April, and May, the pandemic started, hotel industry demand decreased, while short-term rentals increased. April, Smith Travel demand showed us down about 63%. In May, down 61%. July and August, signs of improvement as the summer progressed. July was down 26%, in August about 17. And like Mike said, we really won't know because it's June, July, and August is one lump sum that people send in their reports. Short-term rentals, it's great that the county is now finally moving on that. That will be a good impact towards the end of the year on monies received. Actually, everybody, the weather's been good. Lake George has been really busy. A lot of towns have been busy. Some businesses, like what's mentioned, were real busy. Others were pretty slow. But it'll all wind up by the end of the year. We'll find out what's going on. Monday, everybody in the board is going to see a spreadsheet like this from tourism. Really, it's a lot on there, a lot of numbers. If you don't understand it, call Joanne. But it's got a lot of numbers of how our tourism was reacting over the last 6 or 7 months. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you. Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a few things to discuss this morning. If I'm starting to go too long, please don't hesitate to interrupt me. But there's 3 resolutions on the agenda for us to consider today. 269 is related to a grant received for workforce development and youth programs. 299 and 300 are also distribution of grant awards for the census. If I take a moment for the census, as we've mentioned before many times in this room and in other places, the census is really important. It provides us with funding from the federal government for many of our social services and some of the other grants and awards that we might get. It's all distributed based on census. So if any of the public that are listening receive a knock on the door, be cautious, but it very well could be someone from the census trying to get you counted. And it's really important for us to do our best to get that information as accurate as possible. Next, I know that there was a moment of silence, I believe, that I missed for Ed Bartholomew. But if I may, severely missed. He was a great advocate, a great resource for us. He was a strong participant in the Economic Recovery Task Force, and he'll be missed, and hopefully he'll continue to guide us from wherever he is. Along those lines, his replacement, Jim Siplon, you may know that name. Jim was instrumental in bringing just water to the Glens Falls, Warren County area. Jim is taken over temporarily, interim, I guess, for Ed's responsibilities. He's what I used to call drinking from a fire hose. It's coming after him hard and fast. He's demonstrated that he's extremely capable. He has big business experience and business experience in industries that may very well help us score some opportunities. Part of that, I was going to talk about this a little later, but Jim is his experience is in telecommunications. And those of you that were with me this week up at North Creek heard Jim mention that there's a towns in the hamlets are involved in negotiations with Spectrum for internet and cable. They're also the ones that are supposed to be trying to get us broadband coverage. And Jim's suggestion was to hold off negotiations join as a group, get the leverage, and use the contract leverage that we have not only for cable, but to help drive more coverage on the broadband area of county. So more to come on that. But moving forward, the task force, we mentioned that a couple of times. We do meet weekly. It is a dynamic group of volunteers, and I'm very happy to be part of that group and what we've been able to do. And we continue to move forward. There's motions going forward about coordinating efforts for advertising fall and winter tourism in our region, not only Lake George, but throughout the county as a whole. So I'm looking forward to that. I think I mentioned prior that we're looking at metrics, a way to measure our tourism advertising spend, and are we getting the best bang for the buck for the money we're spending? More to come on that. Another of the, besides broadband, one of the focuses that we heard primarily from our meeting in North Creek was the need for wastewater of county. So not only is broadband, let's call that 1A, but wastewater is probably going to be 1B in terms of what we're going to be doing to try to help support the economic growth in the upcoming towns. If I may, I'm going to take just a minute to share a story with everyone. It happened to me earlier this week, and it's related to masks. And I happened to be in Stewart's, just grabbing a couple of things. I was at the register, and a middle-aged man walked in. I won't say gentleman, but I was a middle-aged man walked in, had his shirt over his face. There was a young male clerk there, and he happened to notice. And in a North Country polite way, he said, "Excuse me, sir, I can't sell you anything without a mask." Well, this middle-aged man's debate went on for at least a minute with one argument after another in terms of why he didn't understand why his shirt didn't work, why it wasn't important to have a mask, why I didn't need a mask. And this young man stood his ground very politely and was assertively saying, "I can't sell you anything till you wear a mask." After this debate went on, this man pulled out of his pocket one of these paper masks and put it on. And I was shocked and I was thrilled that not only this individual, but Stewart's the corporation, and I know all our other businesses are trying to do their best to maintain the compliance with masks. And it was just something that I thought was an amazing example of what we can do if we're polite and we're persistent, and we need to go forward. Just one more statement on that. I know many people think it's a political statement. We have, less than 80 days before the election in November. Make your political statement then. Don't do it by not wearing a mask, please. And the last thing I have to say is that part of the task force has been trying to fill jobs. We've mentioned before the issue with the $600 stipend that was existing from the feds. Liza and her team, Liza Oxendorf from Workforce, has been doing a bang-up job meeting with all sorts of businesses locally. There's still a lot of jobs open. So my message is basically, if you want a job, most likely you can get it here in the county. Reach out to the Workforce Development Group, reach out to the Department of Labor. There's websites, Lake George is hiring. There's many opportunities, and our businesses and our economy would appreciate you coming back to work and helping us make things happen. And oh, by the way, going back to the masks, not only are we trying to make sure that our guests and visitors are complying with the masks, but we do that primarily so that our teammates, our workers, can be safe also. So, Mr. Chairman, I know I was long-winded, but thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, I would just like to say that was a wonderful story. And it really, it is nice and true to see this. I see it more and more as I get around. I'm in and out of stores a lot. And it's just nice to see everybody wearing masks, and I think this is a key thing to helping us all and definitely for keeping our numbers low. I sometimes get a chuckle when I see someone just riding in the car all by themselves with their mask on, but I say kudos to them. So, but that was nice, and thank you for contributing that. The board service had a really a kind of a quiet month. The only thing we have on the board there is 280, which I had circled right here, was for information technology, just authorizing agreement with the Windstream Enterprise. It's just kind of an annual thing that we have to do. So I'd ask for support on that. And I also just like to reach out for the other people up on the screen that aren't here. I decided to come in and see the wonderful design that we came up with, and I really it's quite comfortable, and I feel quite safe. The halls are empty, so you really don't have to worry about coming in through the halls. But it's so nice to see the real faces. I miss it. So I like the bonding that's going on here today, and I'm going to invite all of you to come in for the next board meeting. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your packets today, criminal justice met on this past month on July 20th, I believe. You have resolutions 270 through 275. One of them I just wanted to call to your attention, and I was just sending an email out to the Criminal Justice Committee members. Bob Busey had contacted us and asked to change a date on resolution 271. So it's my understanding it's already been changed in your packets. But in the interest of full transparency, I wanted to make sure you understood at committee you voted on a resolution that would have entered into an agreement on September 1st. This now entered into it retroactively on June 1st due to a voucher that was submitted that they were not previously aware of. So that information is in your email if you're on the Criminal Justice Committee. But if you have any questions on that, I'm sure you can talk with Brian, who I know also approved that, and Bob Busey, who made the request. So I wanted to let you know that. Regarding the resolution that had to be withdrawn, that was again highlighting the way that we depend on our county attorney's office, and I wanted to thank them for looking over potential contract for a lease agreement with the Towers that had way too many areas of concerns to continue to bring it forward to you. We'll go back to criminal justice for an update on Monday. You will not be asked to vote on it, but rather just a little bit of discussion while the county attorney's office takes some time and goes back through that lease agreement and identifying where there are problem areas. So again, I want to make sure I thank their office for their hard work on that. And on August 6th, I attended a Warren Washington Task Force meeting for criminal justice. On August 4th, Supervisor Simpson and myself attended the NISAC Criminal Justice Committee. We are both standing members on that. And I just was pulling up and wanted to share with you, which I lost it now, but I'll send it out to you. The update from NISAC. Oh, here it is. The update from NISAC. They did, and Kevin Garrity, this may be something that I know, given the EMS task force that you had out, you'd be interested in, but they did approve a resolution that talked about a request for comprehensive EMS and volunteer firefighter bill package. That was something that went to the committee that Claudia chairs with resolutions, and I'm sure will be sent out to all of our counties shortly. They also had a request for another resolution to come through our counties, and I can ask Claudia to send that on, or ask NISAC to send it on to Amanda for consideration from our full board. But I do not have a copy of that here today. Lastly, on 7/31, I attended the Resilient Counties Committee for our NACO Association, for the National Association of Counties. I'm pleased to say I was reappointed to Resilient Counties for the next term, and then also had been selected as a subcommittee vice chair for criminal justice and public safety. So I'll continue to provide information on their best practices as relevant for our county committees and members as well. That concludes the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Beatty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to thank Kevin Hajos for the great job he's doing. We met this week to go over his budget with Betsy Henkel, And then we met later with the budget committee, and they are running a very, very, very tight operation there. And Kevin and Betsy and everyone else, Don McGraw and so forth, in a tough time, it shows the quality of people. And I think I'm very pleased with the quality that we have. On a second note, I was pretty close with Ed Bartholomew. He was conducted services when my mother died, and he was a very close family friend. And he was such an asset to this county that I think is even underappreciated, even with the overwhelming support he received in the paper and so forth. He was a true leader, but more importantly, he was able to put different sides together to get the best solution. And I think that was his best quality. I'll miss him at the Methodist Church every Christmas Eve. He was always handing out the candles and collecting the money. And he was just an integral part of our whole community. He will be missed. We say that about a lot of people, but I can tell you for sure that man will be missed. One other item before I talk about the facilities resolutions. I listen in on the Queensbury Town Board meetings, and I know that Queensbury was looking to, they needed a low boy tractor, it's called tractor trailer, to haul big equipment around. And I've reached out after conferring with Kevin Hajos to Queensbury, asking them to hold off on buying anything in these times. It would be hundreds of thousands of dollars, and to use Warren County equipment, which Kevin told me they do on from time to time now. So, you know, that's a offer that goes for every town on the board. You know, I know you utilize Mr. Hajos in the county at times, but we really need to look at sharing more before towns have to buy equipment, before county even has to buy equipment. We should, and we've been doing a better job of that, but we still have a ways to go. So let's make a concerted effort to utilize all the equipment we have in this county and towns and work together. It's just common sense, and it's best for the taxpayers by far. So the actual resolutions on your agenda today are simply they're 265 to 268. They're simply ratifying contracts and awarding bids. There's nothing earth-shattering or controversial in them. We're getting a very good electrical rate and gas, and so that's huge for us through Mega. That's 265. I won't go into each one unless someone has a question for myself or Mr. Hajos, because again, they're pretty simple and self-serving. So that would conclude my report, Mr. Chairman. But again, thank you to Mr. Hajos and really squeezing that budget. We shaved 50,000 off. I know when we had a meeting just a few days ago. So thank you very much. I'm done. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Beatty. Supervisor Shepler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I have no report.
And lastly, Supervisor Gary.
We had 8 budget meetings this past week. Everything seems to be going very well. Also, I'd like to thank the purchasing department, Bill Butler. I got a notification about the change between Staples and WB Mason on the pricing of some of the office materials. And Julie does an excellent job over there. Keeps us on our toes to make sure that we're getting the best deal for our products. But the budget meetings are doing well. The department heads are doing well. And I'm sure by next month we'll have more to report.
Next up is a report by the county administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Feels good to have a lot of people back in the room, and I want to thank the buildings department for doing such a great job on the dividers to keep everybody safe. On the anniversaries for this month, we have Sergeant Ed Afanito from the Sheriff's Department, has 25 years, great guy to work with. And I also want to apologize to Treasurer Swan, who had his 30th anniversary last month, July 16th. And you learn something new every day. I learned that when these anniversary reports are run, they're coded for employees and not elected officials. So that's why we missed them, but we fixed that. So if any elected officials have milestones, we'll be sure not to leave them out. I don't think anybody on the board is anywhere near 30 years. Maybe some people have half of that. But congratulations to Mike. He runs a great office down there, and the fact that we are in the position we're in right now, which not every county is in, is a testament certainly to the job that they do managing our finances and making sure that when times get lean, we have the ability to get through it. That's what it's all about. We're always talking about a rainy day fund and what happens if things go bad. Things went bad this year. So the answer is we're ready for it. So thank you all for that. We'll have an executive session a bit later on. I sent you all a confidential email about that. There's a change in our mailing operator, and the deal right now is bound under non-disclosure agreements. So those resolutions I don't believe are in your packet yet, but I think we have the for the mailings made easy. Okay, so we'll get those later. We'll hand those out later when we have the executive session to discuss the details about the change. The other piece I wanted to talk about is the issue of the day, issue of the week actually, which is the gym reopenings. So on Monday, Governor Cuomo opened up gyms, just to give clarification on what exactly he did. He opened gyms on August 24th, which is Monday, unless the chief executive official of a county wants to delay that reopening. So the chief executive official, which they define as both the county administrator and the chairman of the board, which is a little cumbersome if you don't work well together, but we do, thankfully. And we both agreed that we wouldn't want to postpone the opening of those gyms any longer than the governor has said they need to be postponed. If the governor's saying they have permission to open the 24th, neither of us felt that it was right for Warren County to make them wait longer. So what does have to happen, however, is that within 14 days of their opening, the counties have to do inspections. We can't pinpoint exactly how many gyms we have because it's very broadly written. This classification applies to, like, if you're an HOA that has a gym on your property, it applies to that. If you're a hotel that has a workout room, it applies to that. We think there's hundreds that are ultimately going to need to be inspected. You also might have a situation where a hotel may decide not to, because one of the requirements the state has is that you have to have staff that are present, making sure that the COVID-19 guidelines are followed. And I know that hotels, for the most part, aren't really set up that way. So there's a possibility that you could have gyms that we know exist that won't want to go through the process because the state's guidelines are too stringent. The guidelines are up on the New York Forward website. If anybody listening out there has not yet seen the guidelines and doesn't know where to find them, you can find them through the Warren County Facebook and Twitter pages, and we put out some press statements. If you have any questions, just give my office a call, 518-761-6539, and then somebody will help you. Here's what we decided to do. The difficulty is getting these inspections done within the 14 days that the state says they have to be done. Most larger counties, their public health departments do environmental health, which means they do restaurant inspections, they do campsite inspections. They have staff that's trained to be inspectors. Smaller counties like Warren County, Washington County, Essex County, Saratoga County even, they don't do that. The state of New York handles those environmental health duties for these counties. However, State Department of Health is not doing these inspections. We've asked, they've said, no, you're on your own. I asked the district leader here in the Glens Falls district, and I think that there was some sympathy there, but she said that that decision would have to be made at a much higher level than her, if her staff was going to help us with that. But that is the request. We still have that request with the state that we get some help from actual state trained health inspectors. I have a request into the control room. We'll talk about it at 2:00. If we can't get that help, I've also requested for reimbursement from the state for all of our time, the time of county employees that is spent essentially doing a state inspection function. It's only fair that if we're taking time out of our 7 hours of doing county duties, that to do state duties, that we get compensated for it. So that request is out there. So there is an application process. The reason to have this is so that because we need to track, much like we do with FOILs, we need to track the county's response on the inspections, make sure it gets done within the 14 days. So to start off the process, we came up with an application. It's very easy. We have an email address, gyms@warrencountiny.gov. If you're a gym that wants to reopen, all you got to do is send your contact information and a link that says that you affirm that you read the state guidelines. That's actually a requirement for any business to be open. They all have guidelines. They all have to read their guidelines, and then they affirm that they understand the guidelines. So those are the 2 steps. If we get your contact info and we get proof that you affirm the guidelines, we'll clear you to be open starting on August 24th. And then we will follow up afterwards and schedule your inspection for you. When you have your inspection, the inspector will come from the county. You'll have to provide your safety plan. Again, that's another just standard requirement for every business. Every business has to have a written safety plan. So we're going to ask them to hand over a copy of their safety plan. We made an HVAC certification. The state has very difficult to understand requirements for HVAC systems. So what we did is we put those requirements on a form, and we have a statement at the end. It's a sort of an affidavit that says my facility is in compliance with this. To tell you the truth, I don't understand what the HVAC requirements are. So to put us in a position of having to verify that they're met, I don't know how we would do that. It's very confusing. State Department of Health did offer to help people understand, help individual gyms understand what's expected of them for their HVAC systems. So anybody out there listening, here's their number. This is the number to the DOH Twin Falls District Office, 518-793-3893. So if you have questions about what you need to do with your HVAC, give them a call and they'll help you sort through it. So they'll have to give the inspector their safety plan. They'll have to give them their sheet from us that certifies that they're HVAC compliant. The inspector is going to have an affirmation form. There's a lot of this stuff. So there's certain things that an inspector is going to be able to see by sight, like are your machines 6 feet away from each other? We'll have a checklist where they'll check off yes or no. And there's only about a half a dozen items on that checklist that are site items. Anything that's not a site item that applies to how you're going to continue to run this gym pursuant to these regulations, we came up with an affirmation form. Just to give you an idea what's on here. And we'll make all of these documents public. We'll make sure all the gyms have them well in advance so they know what's expected of them. So we want these inspections to be easy. We're not trying to make this hard. We're trying to take the complicated process and help the gyms get through it. And more importantly, help them to maintain the health standards that they need to maintain. So this affirmation form, the first thing says, as required by the state of New York, this facility will have a staff presence at all times to ensure compliance. And then they initial it. Then the second one, capacity will be limited to 33% of the maximum occupancy. The next one, employees and patrons will wear acceptable face coverings at all times. So they initial each one of these, and then they sign at the end that they didn't misrepresent anything, that everything is true to the best of their knowledge. All 4 of those things get done. The inspection's done. You pass inspection, and you're good to go from the county's perspective. The state has said that it's possible that they'll roll this back statewide if it doesn't work. We put a disclaimer on the instructions to the gym owners, making sure they understand this. But again, it's you give us your safety plan, give us your HVAC form, fill out the affirmation form, and then our inspector is going to have a checklist of visual items, and then you're good. We'll maintain records so that you'll know how many gyms went through this process. And we will, if we have gyms that are failing to meet certain requirements, we're going to work with them, hopefully right then and there at the inspection to fix it. Maybe it's as simple as moving a machine another 2 feet. Again, the idea here is not to get people caught up in red tape, but to help them navigate through it. The inspectors, we put out an email to department heads, essentially saying, we know this is not anybody's expertise. We know you all have more important things to do for county government. But if there's any employees out there that want to volunteer to be part of this process, let us know who they are. We had 16 departments respond with people that they volunteered up for the process. I think we have about 40 people on that list, and 8 of them are department heads. I'm on that list to go out and do a couple of inspections here and there if it's into my schedule. Again, we just want to get them done within the 14 days. We also had yesterday, Dan Baruch in the village of Lake George really stepped up, and the village has Troy LaBelle, who is their COVID-19 inspector. They're going to handle anything that's in the village. Same thing for Fire Chief Schrammel in Glens Falls. He talked with Mayor Hall about this, and they're going to handle anything that's in Glens Falls. And Fire Marshal Mike Palmer is going to handle Queensbury. Now, if any of those gentlemen are too booked up and they can't fit something, then that gym will go out to the 40 people that we have at the county. So the county people in these jurisdictions are going to end up as backups. So hopefully we may have to draw on them here and there, but they're not going to have to shoulder the entire burden of the program. Charles Ballas from Code Enforcement is going to try to handle most of the inspections that are outside of those 3 jurisdictions. We'll muddle through this and we'll get it done. We'll probably make adjustments as we go, as we figure out what works and what doesn't work. But this was really the fact that counties were going to be tasked with this. We didn't know until Monday, and the guidance was not out until Monday evening, Monday night. So to put this together within 3 days was a lot of work. And I certainly want to thank a few people for being involved in that and working really hard at it. Janelle Jones, Pat Belden, Tammy DiLorenzo, Don Lehman, Christy and Sam and Amanda's staff are going to be helping keep track of all of this stuff and field questions from gym owners about the process and how to navigate through the process. I certainly want to thank the department heads for offering up themselves and their employees when everybody's got other things to do. Mayor Blaze, Mayor Hall, and the officials from the other municipalities that have helped with this, and certainly all the inspectors that have signed up. We want to thank everybody. It's characteristic of the way this county has responded to the entire crisis. It's unprecedented challenges. It's out of nowhere. It's hurry up and do it and figure it out. And everybody did that. People have really stepped up to the plate and worked as a team. And it's a pleasure to just be involved in that process. That is about all I had today, and I'm happy to answer any questions about it. We can get these documents, like I said, out publicly, get them out to all the gym owners, and we'll get them out to all the supervisors so that you have them and you can utilize them if people have questions for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question and a comment. I'm disappointed that the state is taking a position where they're requiring the county to undertake these inspections. I do believe this was a requirement of the state and the Department of Health in the city of Glens Falls should be undertaking that. But my question is, I like the fact that the county administrators look for reimbursements. Are those reimbursements going to trickle down to the city of Glens Falls, the town of Queensbury, and other communities like George, where they're going to help undertake the responsibility of the Warren County's requirement?
You bet. If we can get agreement from the state that we'll have reimbursement, because what we're doing is we're taking time out of we're not doing this on comp time. We're not doing it overtime. We're not going to ask people to volunteer to do it off hours. We're asking them to do it during the regular workday. We have a training for all the inspectors at 3:00 this afternoon, and I'm going to ask that everybody keep detailed accounting of the time that they spend doing this. If we can get the state to agree to that reimbursement, we'll use that accounting to actually pull down the reimbursement. Definitely, I would see that as applying to employees in other municipalities that help us out. It wouldn't be fair to do just the county.
Thank you.
Supervisor Graham.
Thanks, Chairman. I'm really glad to hear that we have been able to pull this together. I agree with Supervisor Diamond. It was a lot for the state to expect us to be able to do that in a few days. So thank you and good job. And I heard you saying about how the HVAC rules were so confusing. We're going to work with people on, fixing the deficiencies in their system or whatever. In the initial I don't know, registering or whatever you call it. But after that, going forward, let's say there's some issue, are we the enforcing body? Because what I don't want to see happen is that someone all of a sudden, they didn't have one little thing right and they're going to be immediately shut down or fined. I mean, we should be here to help them fix the deficiency, like you said, but not just at the beginning, going forward so that they can remain open and remain compliant and safe as much as possible.
Yeah.
How is that working once we get through this? Or if you don't know yet, just that's fine too.
No, I agree with the philosophy behind that, and it's consistent with our philosophy on enforcement and everything else. Is if they're going to leave the enforcement to the counties on whether it's got to be shut down, it's always going to be a graduated thing where we start by saying it's educational. Hey, this is out of line. You need to fix it. Let's help you fix it. If it becomes more of a problem where they just don't want to do something that's in the guidelines, you start off with written warnings, and you start off with verbal warnings, then you go to written. It takes a while to get to the stage where your certificate of occupancy is going to be revoked. That's for the most extreme examples only. But whether or not that's the county's responsibility, I'm not sure, because the state regs that back up the executive order have not yet come out. So I would imagine that the Department of Health is going to have regulations like they do with mask wearing, like they do with social distancing, like they do with the other pause orders. And we'll wait for that and we'll see what's in there. But I mean, the pattern here is to, at the end of the day, make it the county's responsibility. And it really comes down to building codes and occupancy certificates. So my expectation would be that it's going to end up being that, but we don't want to do it. We don't want to do that. We want to work with people to get them into compliance.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly appreciate all the efforts that have gone into this, Administrator Moore. As we know, there's been many, many questions from gym owners to all of us, I assume, at this point. I'm just wondering, to follow up on Supervisor Diamond's question, is it premature? Would it be worth sending a letter to our state representatives, both Senator Little and Assemblyman Steck, asking for recognizing the cost factor? Like you said, it's a state directive. It shouldn't be something that the county is doing, although I applaud the efforts. I think it's great that we're not going to sit back and wait for the state to address this. We want to help our community and our businesses thrive in an environment that just seems next to impossible. But perhaps reaching out might be.
I do think that would be appropriate. At 2 o'clock is our call today. I would have gotten answers on these things Wednesday, but our Wednesday call got canceled, postponed till Friday today too. If the answer is we don't know yet, or the answer is no, then absolutely that's appropriate. I would say our state legislators, as well as the governor's office, they have not been inaccessible to us. I have them on the phone whenever I need them, so we'll push it.
Thank you.
Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Ryan, thanks for everything that you're doing. I just have a comment to the public and to our business owners that all our openings have been fraught with risks, and we've managed those going forward. This one may be a little more so than others, but there's still risks with doing this. And the hope is that we can be successful because our public is complying and business owners are complying. And if there is an issue downstate, we might allow Ryan to lobby the control room to say Warren County doesn't have an issue. We're following regulations, we're making things happen, and we don't have problems. So it's just a message to try to encourage everyone that's going to participate in these facilities to do their best to abide by the rules, so that if there are issues, we might have some leverage to stay open. Thank you.
Anyone else? I would also like to commend the administrator and all the people that's helped put this together. Unfortunately, in the last 4 or 5 months, 6 months, this is not the first time that New York State has decreed something, and the county's had to scramble. And Mr. Moore and our department heads and staff have met the challenge each time, and it'd be nice if this would stop.
Yeah, and it's the temptation is to complain, and we've done our fair share of complaining, but at the end of the day, it just needs to get done. And if nobody else is going to do it, we'll do it. We'll figure it out.
Report by the county attorney.
No report at this time.
Thank you. Next, we have reading of communications.
Following correspondence items are on file with the Office of the Clerk of the Board. The report of criminal and family workloads for the months of June 2020 from the Warren County Probation Department. Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Corp. Financial reports dated January 30th, February 29th, and March 31, 2020. Town of Queensbury, resolution number 115 of 2020, supporting the renaming of Halfway Creek to Halfway Brook. And we have several payments from the Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Corp. 2019 regular benefit distribution payment number 2 in the amount of $2,101. February through June 2020 surcharge payments 1 and 2 in the amount of $1,312. The surcharge payment number 3 in the amount of $656, and the surcharge payment number 4 also in the amount of $656.
Okay, next item is reading of resolutions.
Resolution numbers 263 through 298, as well as one certificate of appointment, were distributed to the members of the Board of Supervisors and posted to the Warren County website on August 13th. Resolution numbers 299 and 300 were produced after mailing, but were distributed to the members of the Board of Supervisors and posted to the Warren County website on August 17th. As the distribution deadline specified in the rules of the board was met, a motion and simple majority will be required to bring resolution numbers 299 and 300 to the floor.
So would someone care to move that? Moved by Supervisor McGowan, seconded by Supervisor Driscoll. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Due to an oversight, resolution number 302 was produced after mailing. The resolution was distributed to the Board of Supervisors and posted to the county website on August 20th. As the distribution deadline specified in the rules of the board was not met, the waiving of the rules will be necessary, as well as a motion to bring resolution number 302 to the floor. Resolution 302 is the resolution approving the SUNY Adirondack budget.
Okay, let's deal with that now. And first item is waiving of the rules. We have a moved by Supervisor Bramer, seconded by Supervisor Leggett. Is there any controversy? I'll call a roll call. If not, I'll just all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention. And now we need a resolution to bring to the floor. Moved by Supervisor Wild, also seconded by Supervisor Leggett. I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Finally, there's one floor resolution to be addressed. This was distributed to the members of the Board of Supervisors on August 17th, which met the distribution deadline specified in the rules of the board. In order to entertain this item, a motion and a simple majority vote is needed to bring it to the floor. This is a budget amendment just to move the money in the budget into the correct place for the Stony Creek Radio Tower project.
Moved by Supervisor Leggett, seconded by Supervisor McDevitt. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Floor resolution number 1 is now resolution number 303. As that's amending the budget, it will be subject to a roll call vote.
Okay, next is discussion and public comment on proposed resolution. I'll ask Don if we have any public comment on proposed resolutions.
Yes, we do, Chairman Thomas. We have one comment on Resolution 292 from Travis Whitehead of Queensbury. It reads as follows. There has been a concerted effort by Frank Thomas, Mike Wild, Mary Cassane, and others to impugn my character, and I want to know when the public, and even myself, will learn some of the details of that effort. I have had several FOIL requests denied by the county in my efforts to assemble a clearer picture of what has transpired, and as I feel my civil rights have been violated, I will continue to pursue all legal avenues until I get satisfaction in that regard. I understand that any complaints that may have been laid against me have since been retracted. I know that each of you have been told that, though even that information has been denied to me. The stance is that since there are now no complaints, that there is now nothing to release. But I would like to remind you that I had already been damaged by inappropriate remarks made by your chairman 2 months ago, which is why this issue does not end today, even if someone else is appointed. In fact, that would only strengthen my case that I was slandered in order for your chairman to be able to appoint the GOP chairman in my place. Ponder that, but also ponder that I spent over 45 years working in industrial plants, including the one in Washington County that brought me here, and that I have more experience with the kinds of jobs that we are trying to bring to this area than any current or proposed industrial development agency member. Thank you, Travis Whitehead. That's the end of his comment and the only comment on resolutions.
Okay, discussion of the resolution. Yes, Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I just wanted to bring up that the last meeting we had, we were with the Tootie Adirondack. They were asking for a little bit more money in the budget for the county, and we didn't know what was coming in from the state. And we kind of did a pre-approval, and we were going to revisit that after we knew what the money was sustaining. And I read somewhere that the state did release their funds. So I was just bringing it back up. Does anybody remember that, or that we're going to revisit it now that we'll be approving the budget? Nobody remembers that during the meeting?
I do.
Thank you for bringing that up. I mean, does anybody see a need to review it, or they're all happy with it? That's all I want to say. Okay, let's move on. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What's that? Yes, Supervisor McNiven.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I ask for a roll call, please, on resolution 292. And would like to make a comment on the issue at hand. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. My opinion on the issue is on Travis Whitehead is that we've just gone a little too far in terms of an average citizen, an average taxpayer, a volunteer that I think would be extremely helpful serving on a board. He's either 1 of 5 or 1 of 10. How much damage can a guy like Travis Whitehead do? The answer is not any damage at all. In fact, he can be very helpful. He's a guy that understands the more sophisticated issues in our world, the engineering issues. When we had a program with Siemens, he was the only person in the room that understood the intricacies and the sophistication of the Siemens program. When it came to cogeneration and the sale of our nursing home, he was one of the few people in the room that understood those issues. So the bottom line is we deserve volunteers are hard to come by, in the fact that some people say, well, he doesn't play well. Well, a lot of people don't play. So a little respect to a taxpayer, to a volunteer that is not getting it right now. Someone that's been helpful to me in understanding some of the more difficult engineering issues as it relates to some issues. He's been extremely helpful, and I think he ought to be encouraged and supported for the role on this board. I will vote no on Mr. Grasso today because I feel very uncomfortable with not resolving the Travis Whitehead issue and resolving it quickly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you, Chairman. As I stated at committee, I'm going to vote no on 292. Chairs, under the public officer law, chairs of political parties do have special restrictions. And while I understand that this type of appointment of someone who is now resigned by 3 days is not explicitly covered by the particular rules in the public officers law. I still think that we should follow that model and that there should be some cooling off period following the resignation of this individual. Thank you.
Supervisor Beatty?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm also going to vote against Mr. Grasso on 292, not because of the man or the experience, because we've got, in my opinion, the most qualified individual who worked on the Washington Warren County IDA and now has been slandered. And in my opinion, a witch hunt has been created to discredit the private citizen, the volunteer. And we haven't resolved this yet. When I asked, would he get his day in court, that was a no. So I guess we go about making allegations, complaints, slander, and then we withdraw them, and then we think everything's fine, and let's move on after we tarnish the man's reputation. I'm not comfortable at all with that, and I don't think the majority of people on this board are comfortable with that type of bullying of a private citizen. It goes beyond question that the man's qualified, and when the supervisors make comments like he doesn't play well, the best government comes from opposing opinions and working out and compromising from qualified people. This isn't a kumbaya, let's all sit around and have a hot dog down at the beach every day. That gives government the worst results. The taxpayers end up getting the short end of the stick over and over and over again when that happens. Is government sometimes ugly, messy? It can be. And that's how the forefathers wanted it to be. They wanted two discussions, two opposing viewpoints. They want intelligent people, common people to work together, but not necessarily all sing kumbaya and those s'mores on the beach. That's okay. That's good government. And what happened to Mr. Whitehead, this private citizen 2 months ago, still turns my stomach. I mean, it goes beyond words what happened with this board and individuals on this board towards this man. So I am definitely voting no on Mr. Grasso, and I think the man's qualified. But we haven't resolved the Mr. Whitehead issue. So until we do that and give him his day in court, which is the American way, I'm going to have to vote no on anybody you bring up. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, not to belabor a point, but I do take issue. I don't believe I slandered Mr. Whitehead, and I think offense being grouped into whoever else may have or have been accused of slandering him. Secondly, he's not the only engineer that had served on the Warren Washington IDA. I'm also educated as an engineer. I got a degree in chemical engineering from Syracuse University, the great Go Orange, Syracuse University. I don't need to say any more. It's all about how do you get to make things happen? And differences of opinions have always been appreciated on that board while I've been there. It's just a matter of how you make your contribution. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I may have missed the memo, but when I received my resolution package and I saw resolution 292, I wasn't aware that Mr. Grasso had resigned from the committee. I spent quite a bit of time discussing this resolution with members of the Board of Supervisors, as well as friends of mine who have served on the county's Republican committee. What I learned was Mr. Grasso is an intelligent, knowledgeable, experienced individual who, most importantly, brings a lot of passion to his position over the years on that committee. The passion is the most important thing that I look for in committee members. You can have all the degrees that you need, but if you don't bring passion, if you bring apathy or just kind of business as usual,
nothing is going to get accomplished. I've had the pleasure of working with a couple of political committee chair people. And again, passion is the quality that most represents why they do what they do. I've spoken about being open-minded about both candidates. We've got an important date coming up on November 3rd. I'm not comfortable in supporting this resolution with an effective date of August 21st. I would be more open-minded in considering both candidates if we had a November 4th date on there. Certainly, there's a need to fill that position so we can get on with our business. I always really hate when politics rear their ugly head into the type of work that we do. It shouldn't play a part in Board of Supervisors work or in any of the committee work that we engage in, whether they're elected officials or volunteers from the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we have two issues that we're all talking about here. One of them is how we feel about what took place regarding Travis Whitehead, who, make no mistake about it, would have been a great addition, in my opinion, to any group that he would like to spend his time on, but in particular the IBA. My concern, though, is that if we're going to continue to talk about the allegations of harassment, we've all been notified regarding the withdrawal of the recent allegation, but there were two others that we were told about, which I haven't seen a copy of. My understanding is there wasn't a finding, but it's not that I want to hash it out here today, but I would ask that we talk about this in personnel. In my opinion, it should always be done in executive session. And in my opinion, we owe Mr. Whitehead an apology. But it would be nice to have that referred over and considered under personnel for a discussion with our HR department on how these allegations and subsequent actions are actually followed through or provided to the public. I think it's important that we keep in mind that we want our employees and our public to trust in our policies and also come forward when they're not feeling safe or secure. And I'm not alleging that this has anything to do with a particular incident, just in general. And if we're not going to actually follow up and share results of findings, I don't know what we're doing with a policy that's hiding information either. So I'd like to have that revisited. And as it relates to a separate issue, which is Mike Grasso, who recently resigned as the chairman of the Republican Party. We've all seen his resume. We all know his interest in this position. And I have zero problem supporting a qualified candidate that's been put up through this board, but not just put up by our chairman. He was voted on in our personnel committee and set to this board for consideration. I'll be supporting that resolution here today.
Okay, any other comments on 292?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Supervisor Hogan, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to vote no to 292, but not for any of the reasons that have already been stated. I think this is another missed opportunity. We need to make sure that our boards represent the makeup of Warren County and represent the voices of Warren County. And this is yet another missed opportunity to diversify a board. There's only one woman that sits on that board, and she was appointed by Washington County. I'd like to encourage us in all of our appointments to look a little further and a little wider for candidates that are equally qualified, but will bring a different voice to the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? 292. Any other resolutions? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. We do need an executive session on the mailings issue. Yes. Are you moving it?
And no, I have some other discussion before we do that.
Well, now we're going to executive session.
I'll make that motion then.
Okay.
The
thank
order
you.
for taking them.
Do we have a second? Seconded by Supervisor Simpson to enter into executive session to discuss business pending contract. Uh, Call the question, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. It'll take a couple minutes to. we're back in session. No action was taken during executive session. However, we do have proposed resolutions. The first one is to waive the rules. Someone introduced by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Shepley. I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, no opposition. And the second is to introduce resolution number 305 to the floor. Yes, moved by Supervisor Wild, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. Call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Discussion on other resolutions, Mr. Chairman?
Excuse me?
Discussion on other resolutions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Resolution 302, the funding for SUNY Adirondack. I'm a huge education supporter. Everyone knows that. But I'm also a common sense guy. And I'm sorry, but asking this board and our taxpayers to increase the budget and our dollar amount by 2%, any percent increase, I just can't support. And I love Miss Duffy, Dr. Duffy, and what she does up there, but I'm sorry, the state's cutting you back and you're asking us for more, and we're getting cut back by the state, 20% on sales tax. They're grabbing 20% of our action. I can't come to a conclusion that it makes good sense for our taxpayers to do that at this time. So I'll be voting no on resolution 302 to increase the funding to SUNY Adirondack. And sorry I have to, but these are tough times and we got to do what's right for the people that are paying the bills. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor McDevitt, 302.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with my good friend Supervisor Beatty on this issue. At the end of the day, education is our foundation. We live in a part of the world where indeed education is important. I was in the first graduating class at college, and I believe that we have to be fully supportive of education because we really, in effect, have no choice. This is not an issue that, in my opinion, is subject to debate. We can find the dollars and cents, and I think our treasurer indicated, surprisingly to me, and hopefully that as a county we're in reasonably good shape, and I thank them for those comforting words. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Supervisor Wild, 302.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Just in support of 302, Dr. Duffy, I don't believe that she's still on, but if she is, maybe she can pipe in. But she did define many cuts that they made to their original budget to get to where they are today. And if I put my economic development hat on, it's one of the key elements of our ability to continue moving forward is to have an educated workforce and forget the fact that they're the next generation coming up. And we can't just pull the plug or pull the rug out from underneath them. So I'm in total support. And I'm not sure if Dr. Duffy is on. Maybe she could speak up if she is, but if not, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yes, Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, this is, I brought it up earlier, and Doug, I'm sorry I didn't see your hand up because I would have had to chime in earlier. I know we talked about this, and I brought it up, and I agree with everybody. Not that I disagree or agree with everybody's opinion. I think education is important, but there's one thing that I have noticed with the education is that it keeps going up. It seems like in trifolds, and everything that we do, it's become more expensive and everything else. And I'm just, after listening to our treasurer and what we have coming up, right now, we're all right. But as I know, being a business owner for 38 years, right, you got to plan for some storms and have a little nest eggs set aside. And even though we're good now, as he said, next year, we really don't know. And nothing against SUNY Adirondack, nothing at all. And Dr. Duffy, I want to thank you for making, you know, all the cuts possible, but New York State is cramping down on us and everyone. And unfortunately, being a business owner, I don't have that opportunity to say, well, hey, tomorrow, I'm going to go out and charge my people some more money there so I can, you know, make up my shortfalls or what someone else has taken away from me. And I don't know if that really has anything to play in that, but I understand what we all need to respect. Dollars add up, and I tell kids nowadays when they walk past a soda can, you know, 20 of those are $1, you know, and every little penny adds up. So I'm trying to hold on as much as we can until I know that the economy has more solvent to do it. So I have nothing against education, but I look at our school districts. I've seen those budgets, you know, come in and see that everybody trying to make cuts, but you really never see a school budget get denied. And not that they should be denied, but we need to tighten the belt on everything. So I brought it up earlier, and I can't support this today. So thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Bruno.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate, I'm not going to regurgitate what was said. I agree with Supervisor Beatty and Supervisor McGowan, and regrettably, I cannot support this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any other comments? Yes.
On a different thing.
No, I'll extend the floor to President Duffy.
Great, thank you. I appreciate your time, and thank you to all for your deliberation. And we certainly understand the financial situation that the county's in, as well as the state, and of course that extends to the college. As was indicated, the college has taken extensive action to reduce our expenses by $2 million. We furloughed 126 people across the institution. We've made extensive cuts, and we're in an austerity budget as well. And so although I recognize that it's a challenge to think about any sort of increase, the small increase that we're asking will help us to just continue to maintain and be able to offer the education that our citizens deserve, and also be a part of the economic recovery of our county and our region. So your support would be greatly appreciated, and we certainly recognize and appreciate all the support you give us every year. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, now, Supervisor Bramer, you had another issue?
Thank you, Chairman. Just on that, and then can I turn to a different issue?
Sure.
Thank you. I want to say that I don't think this is the time to cut our higher education spending, because if we are going into an economic downturn, I mean, I know we are having trouble right now, but last time in the Great Recession, we saw that a lot of people went back to school and that they tried to improve their educational status. So I don't think right now is the time to be cutting our spending on the college.
Okay, before you go move on to another issue, I'll ask if anyone else has any other comments. Yes, about 302, Supervisor McGowan.
I would just like to comment back, you know, that would be a good thing if more students went back, because that would raise the enrollment, which would increase the money, and then SUNY Adirondack wouldn't need the extra money. So I see where you're going. So I understand that, but you know, we need to think in total reality here. What is the best for everyone? And I really just feel that we need to be careful for every dollar the county spends right now.
Yes, Supervisor Hogan, I see you writing a note and placing that screen, but I couldn't see what it said.
Sorry. Education is our future. That's it. You know, we can find the money to make this budget happen. Dr. Duffy has done a really good job and made some very hard decisions. And I just think it's so important we show our support for the work that she's already done. and the work that the school will do into the future. People go back to school in times of economic downturn. We need to be there for them.
Thank you. Any other, on 302? Okay, Supervisor Bramer, you had.
Thank you so much, Chairman. Just a quick comment on 290. I think I said in committee that I am fine with having, paying those people who we had at home who were not working because we didn't give any heads up to them that they might have to use some sort of earned leave time for accrual. This resolution itself does not say anything about going forward. I would like this resolution to say that this is only applicable to June 17th until today. That going forward, if we have people at home, that we, the Board of Supervisors, are going to know about that, and we are going to say whether or not they can be at home not working and continue to get paid, or if we are going to ask them to use some sort of accrual, or if we're going to ask them to go on unpaid furlough. That's my comment. I didn't do any lobbying beforehand to get other people to agree with it, but I would appreciate an amendment on that resolution to say that it is effective through today.
Are we good with that?
Yeah, well, even if it's not in the resolution, that's certainly the intent. So you won't have any objection from me if you want to memorialize that in the resolution.
Yeah,
Supervisor Garrett?
I think we should do that. The prior payment, no payments going forward. So definitely, if you prefer that we amend it, I'll second your motion to amend it. That it just includes the prior payment. Nothing going forward.
Okay, motion made by Supervisor Bramer to amend Resolution 290, seconded by Supervisor Garrity. Discussion on the amendment.
No.
Yes.
What was it?
It's in the June 17th.
So the 17th.
Right.
Oh, hold on. I'm not understanding this.
No.
The start is the June
Today.
17th.
No,
Yeah.
what are you asking?
When's the cutoff?
The cutoff should be.
Yeah, the cutoff, you know, practically, from a practical standpoint, we haven't had anything in the month of August. So the cutoff is July 31st.
July 31st. Make it July 31st.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. Are you?
Yes, thank you. I'll amend my amendment.
Okay, July 31st. So I'll call the question on the amendment. The cutoff date will be July 31st. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, anything else? Mr. McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I just have a question on the, not really on the payment section of this, but on how this is all working out. And with, you know, these days you work, these days you have off, or you work from home. You know, it's just, and I understand why we're doing it, but are we getting our fullest, you know, out of the employees, you know, that are working from home? Because, you know, I almost feel like some people say, oh, well, you know, that's my day from working from home. Like now it's a privilege thing, and I look forward to, because you can pre-schedule things and not that I'm saying that anybody's dishonest, but I'm just wondering why the county, being closed down to the public, and can have this, and we have projected screens up, and we got a good site, but we can't get more employees back here. And I'm wondering if we're getting it taken advantage of. You know, did people take care of their advantage while they were furloughed and everything was kind of closed down at the beginning? You know, of you know, doing things that why the county was paying them. I'm just not that I'm calling anybody dishonest, but I know sometimes people would take advantage of the situation, and I just I don't want to set a precedent here. You know, When can the county open up and have all the employees back?
I think most employees are back now.
All employees are working, Brad. That's the point we just made. There's been no paid administrative leave since July 31st. Everybody's working. I don't understand the question.
All right, I'll let it slide at that and I'll, what is it that we have, people come in on, Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays, and people have Tuesday, Thursday, work days at home, and then, the next week, they're here the Tuesday, Thursday, and the next people work the Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I just don't, what do you mean everybody's working? Are they working here in the office, or are they in the building, or are they?
The people that can do their daily work at home are advised to be at home working remotely. That's a dictate from the state of New York.
Okay, now, is that being strictly supervised? I mean, are we making sure that we're getting, 100%?
Yes.
Okay. I just know of other businesses that I've been in that it wasn't working out, and that's the only reason that I bring it up. I just want to make sure we're getting, what we deserve.
If you have any concerns about any department taking advantage, talk to me about it, and I'll talk to the department head.
All right, yeah, no, I don't have any concerns of any, one department. I was just putting it out in general because all right, sorry. Supervisor Sleeper.
Thank you. To Brad's point, and I think maybe he's also trying to refer to the issue of flexible work schedules. Are we, it was my understanding that as a county, we do not have any policies adopted around flexible work schedules due to the fact we have an executive order right now. I understand that that's certainly being utilized, but perhaps as we start to phase out of that, we should have it as an agenda item that we're talking about in personnel to develop the policies for flexible work schedules.
We do have policies, and we have union contracts that speak to all of this stuff.
For the non-union though, it's my understanding that there's, at least I checked with HR and
for non-union people, we have it to the discretion of the department heads. If the department head knows the work that's got to get done, knows what's assigned to whom, and it's up to them to determine it to run the department. I mean, that's their job. It's at their discretion as to how they want to schedule these shifts.
So to Brad's point, then even in absent an executive order, our department heads have an ability to then say you can start between this time and end between this time, or work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or however they see fit.
Right.
And that those plans are then filed with your office, Brian, for consistency and oversight, I'm assuming, and available for us to take a look at on an annual basis.
Absolutely. Well, not even an annual basis. If there's any time at all when you want to know what a department's doing, just give me a ring and I'll get you the information.
Yeah, I do think that it is important that we continue to talk about performance work plans and making sure those get done, even in light of COVID. It's probably even more important to recognize those efforts. But also, and I had the chance to speak to you about appointment, people coming by appointment versus open to the public. And I do hope that as soon as we're allowed by the state that we will be allowing people into this building on a limited number without appointments, even if they're going through the front door 10 at a time to come in. And I mean, they're paying the bill.
If it was
frustrating.
If it was up to us, we would have had the DMV open to customers a long time ago. But the state has kept it only on an appointment basis, and they've extended that to September 11th.
Thank you.
Supervisor Bramer.
Thanks. I was going to say, I think part of the confusion is that the last time we had a comprehensive update on where we were with personnel, it's been a while. So I know that there have been rumors flying about what exactly is happening. That's why I asked you the other day, Ryan, I need an update. Maybe we can have a little bit more update either from the personnel chair, or like I, as chairwoman of real property, asked my department head to provide me the information about what exactly is happening with her staff and how the public gets in there. You make an appointment, here are the hours, all of those kinds of things. It would be nice to have a little bit, some correspondence updating on us again on a regular basis. I know you are already giving us daily updates on the COVID situation, so I'm not asking for a daily update. Just here or there, or ask all of us as committee chairs to get that information from our department heads and put it out to the committees. I think that would be helpful to get everyone understanding what exactly is happening on an operational basis here in the building.
Duly noted. Yes, Mr. McGowan.
I would just like to thank these two young ladies for covering me and what I was trying to say. So thank you both.
No problem.
Okay, any other discussion on 290 or? Okay, other resolutions? Yes, Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just a point of information. We're running out of time with the census. I'm wondering if the board would allow Sarah Frankenfeld to just give an update on where we are, the different activities. I think not only it would be good for supervisors, also the public, but if you would so grant that, I can ask Sarah to join us for a couple minutes.
Yeah, I think we should vote on resolutions first.
Okay.
So, any other discussion on resolutions? Hearing none, vote on resolutions.
Resolution number 263, making supplemental appropriations. Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett? Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 264, amending Warren County budget for 2020. Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 292, appointing member of the Counties of Warren and Washington Industrial Development Agency and Civic Development Corporation. Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
No.
Mr. McDevitt?
No.
Ms. Bramer?
No.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
No.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
No.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
No.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes with a vote of 600 in favor. Resolution 296. Whoops.
Is that number correct?
Yes, you have. Just one moment.
Could you add that, please?
There's 600 votes in favor, 315 against, and 85 absent, for a total of 1,000. Resolution 296, increasing capital project number H377, Sunnyside Road and Sunnyside East Pavement Preservation Project. Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Long time coming, but yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 298, authorizing the appropriation of funds from the computers reserve to various departmental budgets. Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 302, adopting and approving Adirondack Community College operating budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
No.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
No.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
No.
Ms. Seaver?
Abstain.
Mr. Beatty?
No.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
The resolution passes with a vote of 592 in favor, 238 against, 85 absent, and 85 abstaining. Resolution 303, amending Warren County budget for 2020. Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
And a vote on the collective. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, privilege of the floor. Supervisor Wild, I will extend the floor to Sarah Perkins. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, thank you for having me. So on Tuesday at our committee meeting, I'll give everybody a more detailed update for whoever is attending that committee meeting and is interested in sitting in. But just a very quick update. We thank you to the county administrator's office and the county attorney's office for making this very, very quick turnaround time with this surprise grant award that we received from the state. So I'm so appreciative of everybody working so hard on getting that moving really quickly. We've been able to hit the ground running and made a ton of progress this week. I'd like to also thank Kathy Tolstrup from Tri-County United Way. They're our nonprofit partner. A requirement of the grant award was that 75% of the funding go through a nonprofit. So they stepped up and volunteered to fill that role, and they've been working incredibly hard this week. As we speak, they're at the farmers market in Bolton, and they'll be having booths set up and attending the farmers market all throughout the county, as well as the Shirt Factory Food Corral. We also are partnering with the Census Bureau to set up mobile questionnaire assistance centers in other locations in the county. Yesterday, we had one set up at the Open Door Mission. We have lots of media things happening as well. We're picking up lawn signs this afternoon, some additional ones in a different color with a time is running out message. So we'll be distributing those around the county over the next few days. So you should see those popping up. We have designed big outside banners for each of the town halls to display either on your building or out front on your front lawn. And we'll be bringing those up to each of the town halls. Hopefully next week we'll have those. We asked you to put those out. You may have seen we have message on digital message boards around the county. We will have ads in the Post-Star, the Chronicle, Sun Community News. You may have noticed we've done a fair amount of media lately. We're on North Country Public Radio in the Post-Star and Sun Community News. So more things going on. I'll give everybody more details on Tuesday. Enumerators are also out and about as of August 11th. So people in your communities have probably started to have enumerators come to their doors if they haven't yet filled out the census. We're trying to emphasize the fact that this is a legitimate activity. People are required by law to respond to the census. They should open the door. They are following social distancing guidelines, wearing masks. They're not coming inside. So I'm hopeful with all of this last flurry of activity that we'll be able to get our numbers up. That's it. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have a, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, could you give me some sense of, or do you know, like, how many enumerators are there out and about since the 11th?
So
I would hope an
I don't-
army. But.
Yeah, I know there are at least 3 enumerators in the town of Bolton. I don't know exactly how many there are throughout the county. I do know that they, because of the moving up of the deadline from October 31st to September 30th, that they have hired additional enumerators. 18 new enumerators went through training this week. So there are at least several dozen, if not more.
Okay, any other questions for Sarah?
Just a shout out of thanks. She's trying to do a bang up job, and we need the public to participate and jump in on this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Any other privilege of the floor? Anyone? Public comment? Don? Mr. Lehman?
Yes, we do have a little bit of public comment. Actually, a question for Treasurer Swan, if he's still there. It looks like from the video he is. From Gina Mintzer, Lake George Chamber, asking if the $500,000 down that we were talking about in revenue earlier, is that negative 500? Does that reflect any dip into the reserves? Is this forecast for year to date and looking ahead to year end? Lastly, is there any forecasting for 2021?
The 500,000 is what we're behind right now as of now. We'll see what happens at the end of the year. That depends more on whether some of these revenues come in and where we are with sales tax. As far as 2021, I don't have any kind of predictions on that whatsoever, because it all depends on what happens in the next few months with the
I do the multi-year forecast, and I would agree with Treasurer Swan. We haven't started the forecast yet because we will do the forecast, but right now it's hard to predict how the economy is going to come back. We also still don't have an answer on what the state's going to do with state aid. We still have a potential 20% cut on tap. Depends on whether or not the federal aid bill comes through, and if the federal aid bill doesn't come through, what does that mean for state finances going forward? It could mean a longer term reduction in state aid. So there's usually just 1 or 2 X factors. There's probably about a dozen X factors right now.
Okay, Mr. Lehman?
Yes, we also have a comment from Gina Mintzer saying, thank you, Ryan and Don, for the daily COVID updates. We share them in real time with our business colleagues to ensure they are up to date and operating safely and responsibly. We appreciate everyone's efforts. We also have some comments from a Joey Boswell, who says, good morning, Mr. Chairman. My name is Joey Boswell, and I'm with CASA, C-A-S-A, Advancing Tobacco-Free Communities, a not-for-profit program which covers Warren County. I wanted to give you all an update that New York State Quit Line is offering a free 3-month supply of nicotine replacement therapy gum. That's all that Joey posted. I did respond and directed Joey to email me with more information that can be distributed to the board relative to this program. And that's all we have.
Okay, thank you. Announcements. Yes, Supervisor Siebert.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Amanda for going above and beyond to our National Association of Counties and asking for them to mail free of charge to everyone the right way to run a meeting, a quick little reference guide. And I think everybody went on everyone's desk, right? So thank you for doing that. And again, Mr. Chairman, I've decided this monthly to make this a standing request. to please have a Robert's Rules training and a rules of our board training. It's my understanding that we do have some rules of the board that are more restrictive than Robert's Rules. And I would be so grateful to hear from our county attorney and from NISA in a quick training that would provide all of us with more information about what it means to abstain. When do we need a majority versus non-majority vote? What does it mean to recuse? Do you walk away? When do you end debate? How many questions can you have? I mean, I can go on all day, but it would just be great to be able to have that training, Mr. Chairman. I know you've noted it in the past, but before the end of the year, we could all get together in this wonderfully safe room and do that. Thank you.
We can make hot chocolate.
Great.
Say kumbaya. Who's yours?
The Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be quick. I just wanted to remind people that we received a very poignant memo from Tammy DiLorenzo recently regarding the wearing of masks. I would say the high 90s% of our county employees, both on this campus as well as off-site, are wearing masks when they're in their offices, but as well as when they're walking during a break outside in groups. Encourage them to continue to do that because we lead by example. So what they see here on the campus of Warren Commons, as far as our customers and guests, again, continue to encourage employees to wear the mask when they're in the hallways, when they're passing groups of people, even when they're out walking during a break. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Very good. Yes, Supervisor McGowan.
Yeah, just another vote of confidence for everybody up on the screen. And hopefully people would chime in and maybe say, yay, but do you all kind of feel safe here with our new protection and the way it went? Like I said, it's all good to see the faces directly. But if everybody can just say, hey, come on back. We'd love to see you in person. So give it a thought, everyone. If I may add to that, Mr. Chairman, you don't have to worry about the mute button. Yes.
Just on Brad's note, is there a way to upfront to put these dividers? I mean, for those of us coming in to do committee meetings, it might be nice to, have them up there as well as an extra up there. Everyone feeling comfortable about getting back in here, provided their health isn't in jeopardy or they're not quarantining.
What do you mean up front in the
Like,
committee room?
it's like envision these guys up there.
Oh, for you guys.
Yeah, right? Especially because we're going to use this as a committee room. And someday the public will be back.
I'm sure it's doable. I think right now they're doing it from their desks, actually. The chairing part.
Right, like on Monday, if I come in to chair criminal justice, then I can just do it from here.
It goes from there, or
All right. I just, long term, it might be nice to have that protection, especially for those that prefer to chair in person.
yes, Mr. McGowan.
Thank you. I know you're probably saying, geez, again, geez, you're like Claudia here. No, but no, I'll stop over and talk to Frank. I was going over there anyway, so afterwards, and see if we can't come up with a more quick design where something can be removable and that, so everybody feels safe. We even have you guys little trap doors so you can pull it down and hear each other. It's kind of tough to hear what your neighbor's saying, so I understand. So, but thank you.
Any other announcements? Motion to adjourn. Moved by Supervisor Wild, seconded by Supervisor Seaver. All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Thank you.
But I don't want my
I just told them, I really